What's going on, Vikings fans? It is Skol side back again. This is another Minnesota Vikings video. This video should be coming at you at Sunday night. And as you guys see by the title, it's who showed up and who didn't for the Minnesota Vikings against the damn Atlanta Falcons, who were 0-5 going into this game. And now they're 1-5 because the Vikings got their ass kicked. And I like to do this after every game. Focus on individual players and coaches who showed up or who didn't. In wins, we have 5 who showed up. In losses, we have 3. And then polar opposite, who didn't. Anyways, guys, who showed up, who didn't for the Minnesota Vikings against the Atlanta Falcons? Let's get into it. All right, we're going to start off with who showed up, get those out of the way, and then we can get into the thick of things. First player who showed up was Justin Jefferson. I mean, this kid's special. I keep saying it. And I know he is an idiot throwing him the ball, but, you know, he looks good. Jefferson looks really good. He looks explosive, goes up and makes plays. Any type of situation we put him in, he's been exceeding. It's his second game already with over 150 receiving yards. He is just really playing out of his mind. Listen, the Vikings, if there's anything they can spotlight out of this year, it's him. And he has just been playing out of his mind. And just Justin Jefferson, just thank God he's a Minnesota Viking and not in Philly, not anywhere else, because he's a cornerstone we can build around. Justin Jefferson, 166 yards, 2 touchdowns. I think he had 9 catches. Just an unreal performance out of him, especially out of a rookie. He just looks already so mature, and it's going to be really exciting to see him develop his skills and really hone it in over the next couple of years. And anyways, Justin Jefferson was the main player who showed up for the Vikings today. And the second player who showed up for the Vikings today was Ifedi. I've been on Ifedi a lot this year. I've been very critical of him, mainly because of the expectation I had for him. I expected a lot of Ifedi, and he's been slightly disappointing this year. However, he really showed up today, brought a ton of pressure off the edge, and he has just been really playing well. Ifedi, I think he had 1.5, 2 sacks today. Really stepped up, was really the only defensive lineman who got consistent pressure besides Unique and DJ Wonham. Ifedi, really another cornerstone that I think Vikings should keep in the building, especially once Michael Pierce and Danielle Hunter come back next season. Ifedi, hell of a game, back-to-back solid games from Ifedi, something to keep looking forward to in this season. All right, and the last, I guess, 2 people who showed up today, I'm just throwing them in one, was Eric Kendricks and Harrison Smith. They are doing that out there really by themselves, and they have been really playing well. Eric Kendricks, just another solid game. I saw him behind the line of scrimmage a lot. Harrison Smith just maintaining those corners, putting them in position. You saw him a couple times tell Dancer where they're going. Dancer made a hell of a play behind the sticks. However, they're just doing what they can. I mean, they're playing with a bunch of new guys who they've never played with before, against guys who have never really played NFL experience and never really played in an NFL game before, and those 2 are really being mentors, and I'm just going to throw them in there because nobody else really showed up, and those guys are just solid. They don't give up big plays. They're just consistently playing their best and playing their ass off for this team. I like seeing Harry get up and talk smack to the other team. Kendricks is just a leader. And then also another player in there is Eric Wilson. I know he did not play the best, but he had a fumble recovery, and to see him flying around the field, those 3 are kind of the guys who, you know, they had a pretty decent games. I'm not going to say they stood out or anything. Anyways, Justin Jefferson, Eric Wilson, Eric Kendricks, Harrison Smith, and Ifedi are all the guys who really just stood out today and actually played a pretty solid game. Anyways, let's get into who didn't show up. All right, so who didn't show up for the Minnesota Vikings? I'm starting with them. I'm starting with Kirk Cousins. I don't care what anybody really comes on here and says in the comments or tries to get an argument with me over Twitter or over whatever it is. Kirk Cousins is not a good quarterback. He is what today, and I'm going to get into this in a whole nother video. I don't want to get too much into it, but that game today just embodies his career. And it embodies him as a whole and him as just an NFL player. I can say what he wants. He's a nice guy. I love it. But that nice guys don't win in football. Nice guys don't win in life. So it's about what you do. And Kirk Cousins, 3 interceptions. 2 of them were just awful interceptions where I'm just like, what are you looking at? First play of the game, you throw an interception. It's just a tone setter. It's just not winning football. And he's just not a winning quarterback. He's never going to win a Super Bowl, and he needs to get out of here. Anyways, Kirk Cousins didn't show up. All right, here it is. Another coach. Another person didn't show up today, Mike Zimmer. His buddy, Kirk Cousins' best man, I guess, because they just loved not showing up randomly throughout years. Mike Zimmer, listen, I don't care what he's done in the past. The NFL is getting way too advanced for him. He has no idea what he's doing. I get you lose a lot of defenders, but how is your team going to come out like that on an 0-5 team at home with a bye week coming? Like, how do you not just give the pitch? Like, hey, we're going to come work our ass off this week. We got one more week, then we got a bye, then we're looking at Green Bay, and then we got a chance. That should be the mindset. It just came out flat. Two different teams from last week in Seattle, and that's just what Mike Zimmer is. His teams, sometimes they're here, sometimes they're there, and they're never consistent. And again, today just embodies him as a whole. You know, Mike Zimmer throughout the years, it's we're good this year, we're bad the next. We're good this year, we're bad the next. Well, here's the drop-off. Here's the cliff when he loses some of his talent. He can't coach. I literally think that 2017 team now deserved a Super Bowl, and he messed it up in the NFC Championship game because he'll have games randomly throughout the year where his defense just doesn't show up. His whole team doesn't show up. He doesn't even look at the offensive side of football. He needs to get out of here. I'm sick of Mike Zimmer. He needs to leave. Terrible game from him. Terrible game plan. Terrible coaching. Guys came out with no passion, no energy, and it was awful. Mike Zimmer didn't show up again. And then the third group who didn't show up is I'm throwing in here Gladney and Dantzler. I get Dantzler had a pretty solid game, and Gladney had the forced fumble. But, dude, they get burned so much, just so many times, and I don't think it's entirely their fault. I don't think they're bust. I'm not saying that. They just had a bad game today. Dantzler has back-to-back games where he is not looking too good in the pass. He looks great in the run. I love the tackles for loss. That part of his game was great, and if he would have just took out the negatives that he had in the pass game, he would have had a hell of a game. And same with Gladney. It's just a roller coaster with those two, and they're young, and I get it. It was just a lot more downhill than good today. They both had their moments. However, Gladney and Dantzler, they're rookies. They're going to do this, guys. I don't want to jump ship on them, and as we shouldn't. It's just unfair. Didn't have any preseason. They would have had preseason. This would have been the week 2 technically for them. No training camp. They're going to pull it together, but they just had a rough game today, and Julio and Calvin Ridley and Matt Ryan really took advantage of those two. All right, and the fourth player who didn't show up today was Ezra Cleveland. Ezra Cleveland, it was great to see him get the start today, but he didn't really play good, and he got his ass kicked on a couple plays. I'm anticipating doing a film breakdown on him, really see what he did well and what he didn't. He's a right guard. He's a left tackle playing right guard, and that's just not. What do you really want from him is week 1? Again, that's on Spielman, Zimmer. You draft a guy at left tackle in the 2nd round, and you put him to right guard. That's just how the Vikings season gone. Just idiotic moves. I'm not gonna blame him too much, but he got his ass kicked a lot today. And anyways, rough start to Ezra Cleveland's career as a Minnesota Viking. All right, and the fifth person who didn't show up today, I could pick on an individual guy, but the fifth person who didn't show up today was the Minnesota Vikings and the culture. And there's gonna be another video on this week, but coach, quarterback, GM, FFF. So far this year. And those are the 3 most important positions in football, is having a good coach, having a good GM, and having a good quarterback. And they are all terrible. This team has talent. This team is not bad. It's just when your quarterback, your coach, and your GM are all terrible, then you're a bad football team. I don't want to hear, oh, Jefferson's a bust, like it's because of Diggs, it's because of this, it's because of this. No. Spielman, Zimmer, Cousins. Awful. And that's all I really got to say. This game really embodies the entire year for the Vikings. Hope you guys enjoyed. I appreciate the love on the live stream earlier today. Subscribe to the channel. Leave a like down below. Comment on the video. Tough. We're going to get through this together, though. We're going to break it down all this week. Skol Vikes. It's not over. See you guys later.